So imagine you've been working on a project for months, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, the idea hits you on how you want to put it all together, how you want to make it all work. Then you go back and you sleep on it for a couple hours, then you wake up around 6 or 7 in the morning. You start putting all the assets together, and then by 11 o'clock, you can put it out into the world, hoping that people like you will enjoy it. That's what this video is about. Today, I'm going to give you some insight into what it's like to being a 43-year-old guy from Texas running a small YouTube channel, and what it's like competing with the mainline creators. Like I said, I'm Matt, and I'm a creator based here in Texas. I'm 43 years old. I create content on all sorts of things. I create commercial content. I create some content here on YouTube. I do all sorts of things. And, you know, I've been creating content lightly on YouTube for several years. And transitioning into this space, having spent most of my career in the mainstream media, has been very difficult. But I found out that there's some similarities between the two. And in this video, I want to kind of break down a little bit to what my perspective is when it comes to the mainstream media and to me as a content creator. It's a journey of discovery, a journey of adaptation, and a journey of deepening appreciation for the audience. Now, while in the mainstream media, we always said that we really appreciated the audience, I always kind of wondered, did we really? Well, it's a fascinating contrast between my old life working in the mainstream media to being an independent storyteller, an independent creator here on YouTube. Now, my goal is to help you understand the process and what I go through and what my role is as a small channel creator here on YouTube, creating content that I hope you'll enjoy. So when I worked in the mainstream media, when I worked in the mainstream press, everything kind of revolved around content creation. That's what we did. But it didn't revolve around it in the way that you probably think it does. Now, when I was in the mainstream media, I always kind of believed that my job was about making engaging, high-quality content that really connected with my audience. That's what I was told anyway. But after I'd spent a lot of time in the mainstream media, I realized that this wasn't necessarily the case. On the surface, it's probably true. Now, if I'm being totally honest, but as I grew into my career, I realized that it wasn't just about great storytelling, and it wasn't just about telling the news or creating a documentary about something. It was about validating the worldview of our audience, who the consultants told us that we should create content for, what the statistics said. It became much more statistical driven, and towards the end of my career, I started to get kind of frustrated with the fact that I was creating content not for people, but for a statistic, for a demographic. If you worked on a news segment, or maybe it was a documentary piece about something, whatever it was, it simply wasn't just about uncovering the truth and crafting a compelling narrative. That's not what it was about at all. It was about ensuring that the content aligned with what the consultants told us that the statistics were telling them that our statistical audience wanted to agree with. They needed us to validate their opinion. Let me explain that just a little bit. So we hear a lot of talk about media bias, people wanting to create content around, the truth and the facts, and that's where things get a little bit muddy, okay? There's the facts and then there's the alternative facts. So as a journalist and as a freelancer, I always kind of lived my life in the idea that, everything is the way that it seems, nothing is the way that it seems, and the truth is in the middle. But in reality, working for the mainstream media, that's not really how it was. It was really like, okay, if you work for Fox, you know that your audience is probably a little bit more conservative. So you create content that validates their worldview so they'll stay tuned in just a little bit longer. If you work for MSNBC, you know that your audience is a little bit more liberal, quite a bit more liberal. So you create some very liberal content that validates your statistical viewers' worldview of things. That's kind of how this system works, okay? So in the end, who's really telling what? Basically, they were just creating content that aligned with what the audience already believed, or just telling them what they wanted to hear. That's how the modern mainstream media just kind of works. That's it in a nutshell. Now, mainstream media, of course, is a giant operation. It really is. It's like a massive ship on an ocean. And when I say the mainstream media, keep in mind here, I'm not just talking about the news, I'm talking about production houses as well that put out movies and things like that. But I want you to think about these things, these big organizations, these production houses, these news organizations, things like that. I want you to think of them like a big ship. Now, to steer one in any direction, it takes an enormous amount of time. It takes a lot of people. It takes a massive amount of money. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of resources, things like that. Every decision is weighed heavily because the stakes are so high. Okay? And the resources that are involved to create this stuff is really immense. Okay? And creativity often takes a back seat to logistics, to the approval processes, and the goal of keeping the existing audience comfortable. That's what the whole thing is about. But then I entered the world of being a freelancer. And then I discovered YouTube. Now, the contrast between the major media outlets and YouTube couldn't be starker, really and truthfully. On YouTube, I'm the captain of a much smaller ship, okay? I'm the captain of a speedboat. I'm the pilot of a fighter jet. On YouTube and in the independent media, I can make turns a lot quicker. I can execute creative maneuvers that maybe the large production houses just can't. And I can pivot my way in a content that suits me and suits the story, not necessarily a statistic on a page. And I can engage with this content with you, my audience, on a deeper level. Whether we agree or disagree, I can do this. Now, I can have a story, and I can be working on this story for weeks or months or even longer. And then I can finally sit on it and I can say, you know what, at 3 a.m. in the morning, this is how I want to present this story. I can sleep on it again. I can wake up at 6 or 7. I can start putting the assets together. I can start putting the script together. I can start putting all of this stuff together. And by noon, I can hopefully have it out into the world for you to see and for you to enjoy and for you to discuss. That's the beauty of this. To where in the news business, even somewhat at the local level, these things take a lot of time. And the agility of this suits my personality more so than the slow-moving behemoth that the traditional media and the traditional production houses ever could. So YouTube is a lot like the music industry, okay? A lot. In music, you have the mainline artists. They're backed up by major record labels. They have massive budgets. They can put out hit records. Every single thing they throw out there's a hit. Practically, they can do sold-out stadium tours. Think of the Taylor Swifts of the world, right? And then you have the indie musicians, the true indie musicians that are playing your bars, your clubs, your festivals, things like that. These folks are out there working on their own. They're only getting by with the support of their much smaller but much more loyal fan base. The people who buy the tickets to the small venues, to the small shows, they buy their albums, they feed the tip jar, which you can do here on YouTube through Super Thanks and stuff like that. They're buying the merch. Our fans, our audiences are much more loyal to us. And I think both groups, the mainline musicians and the independent artists, play a real big role in this ecosystem of entertainment and content creation. Now, YouTube mirrors that a lot. We're going to talk about that. So first off, in the United States, you had the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. You kind of think of YouTube as kind of like the Federal Communications Commission. They're like the regulatory body that kind of lays all of this stuff out, right? They set the rules, they set the framework, what you can, what you can't do. They don't really control the creative process too much, but they control the regulatory side of things. So when it comes to the media and the mainstream media and doing things like this, you have to think of YouTube as kind of like the FCC of today when it comes to creating content on this platform. Now, there are some YouTube powerhouse channels, no doubt about it. These creators, they're backed by big conglomerates of creators. They're backed by big business. They're backed by giants, right? By you know, some of them even have venture capital funding behind them, right? That's kind of how this thing works. They make big budget content, and they're trying to make it look relatable. Like, this is real. This is how I'm doing it. This is, I get it. I totally get it. That's their persona. And, you know, they're using highly polished visuals. They're using professional grade storytelling. They're going all out with this thing, right? And there are promotional teams sometimes behind these channels, these powerhouse channels. And look, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is nothing in the world wrong with that. I love seeing creators succeed at this level. It's inspiring, but it's not me. See, folks like me, we're the indies of the world. We're the indies of the YouTube marketplace, right? We don't have the backing of large corporations and multi-million-dollar brand deals and all that stuff. Instead, we're focusing and we're relying on the strength of and the relationship of our audience to the people that we connect with. I'm connecting with you, my viewers, my audience, in a whole new way. And you're the reason that I can keep making content, because you're subscribing, you're liking, you're leaving comments, you're sharing, you're dropping super thanks. You're supporting my limited number of sponsors, you're buying the merch, you're doing all of these things. And these acts of support keep the small one-person operation afloat, just like they keep the small independent musician afloat. So for us, it's grassroots. Maybe you buy a piece of merch, or you send us a thanks, a tip basically, right? Or you simply watch the video all the way through without skipping through the ads. All of these things matter, and they matter a lot. Like I say, I'm like an indie musician. out here crafting stories, creating content that I care about, hoping that you do too. I'm hoping that they resonate with you in some sort of way. And the beauty of being an independent is that I'm closer to my audience. I'm more relatable to you. I'm not just a PR firm responding to comments, or I'm not just some assistant responding to comments. You're getting this interaction with me directly, and you and I can build a connection based off of that. I can respond to your feedback. I can create stories that you want to see, that resonate with you. And that all comes through your support and your help. And this all happens without the layers of separation that come with being part of a massive organization. This comes from a grassroots, independent creator, independent artist, and independent audience. So being an indie YouTuber, being an independent, totally 100% free to do what I want YouTuber within the sphere, the box, the quite large box that YouTube gives me to work within, it allows me to take risks, and it allows me to tell the stories the way that I want to tell them. I can pivot when something doesn't work. When I see something's not working, I can pivot rather quickly. I can be a little bit more experimental. I can do videos like these that kind of take you into my world as a creator and as a producer. If something's not working, I can change it rather quickly. And it's not just about chasing the next viral success or trying to appeal to everyone or a large swath of the audience. It's about staying true to myself and to you, my audience. Of course, there's challenges. There's always going to be challenges. In competing with these big corporate powerhouses, this can be intimidating. But it's how you manage that intimidation. There's no doubt that the YouTube algorithm favors those who already have large audiences. And the bigger your audience is, the algorithm loves it. I don't care what they say. And it can feel like you're shouting into this void, into this emptiness when you start out with nothing. It's going to feel that way, just like if you're an independent musician. But I've learned to work within my means, work with the equipment that I have, the budget that I have. I set realistic expectations, and I focus on the joy of creating the content, of connecting with you, talking with you, learning what you like, sharing with you the things that I like. It's a true community down here at the grassroots level. And that's what makes this thing so beautiful. I mean, my advantage as an independent content creator on YouTube lies within the power of individual connection. That's where this whole thing starts. And I'm not operating from a corporate office or a distant production studio and have massive resources. I just work with the things that I have. And, I'm out here in the Texas sun, in the Southwest, driving the same roads, walking the same trails, meeting the same people, sharing the same stories that we're all sharing, talking about the struggles that we're all experiencing, learning the history of the land where you and I all live. We're sharing experiences together, things that you may encounter in your own day-to-day life. That's the beauty of this. The authenticity and the accessibility are things that no amount of corporate backing can truly buy. That's where the freedom of being a true independent, especially on a platform like YouTube, comes into play. I'd like you to think of YouTube as entertainment, because that's what it is. It's entertainment, just like music, film, live theater, whatever. YouTube is purely entertainment. And whether you enjoy a video or not, remember that it's not just pixels on a screen. It's the product of somebody's hard work, somebody's ingenuity, somebody's effort, somebody's creativity, someone's passion. And for small creators like me, every little bit of support truly does help us accomplish our mission. When you buy a super thanks, or when you become a member, or you buy our merch, or you simply watch a video all the way through without skipping the ads, this helps us. It really does. And even if you skip buying the merch, if you skip donating, and you simply watch the videos, if you like them and you're commenting on them, this all helps us create content, and it helps promote our videos within the larger scheme of things within this governmental body known as YouTube. The algorithm does love engagement. It really does. If you leave a comment, if you share something, if you subscribe, this signals YouTube that my content is resonating well with you, my audience, and it helps me become bigger. Now, my goal is not to be the next Casey Neistat or something like this. It's not. My goal is to be able to build a channel that supports itself and allows me to connect with you. So if you enjoy what I create, if you consider buying a piece of merch or tipping through the super thanks or whatever it is, or even if you're just sharing my channel with a friend or putting it on your social media, all of these things really do help. Check it out. I may never be a mainline creator. Probably I never will be. And I'm okay with that because it allows me to keep the connection with you. And I found my niche, I guess, in the vast landscape of YouTube. And this is a place where I can tell stories, I can explore histories, and I can do the things that I want to do and share them with you as I go through life. And like an indie musician playing there at the local bar or the local club or a small venue, whatever, I'm here on YouTube for the love of the craft, for the connection that it brings. And there's something beautiful in that. Your support, no matter how small, no matter what you do, it makes it all possible. And together, we're building something strong that's not just about entertainment, but about community. It's about shared stories, the relationships, and the joy of creating outside of the mainstream. Thank you for being here. Really, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. You're not just part of the audience, you're part of the journey, part of the creator journey. So let's keep telling stories together. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'm really looking forward to creating a community with you and sharing the stories as we go along. Let's have a drink together. Let's enjoy life together, and let's have a community that's independent, that's homegrown, that's homespun. I really appreciate you. Thanks a lot for tuning into this video. I know it's been a little bit long, but I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.